atmosphere to the clouds.
Sure.
And possible transportation over land. There's a lot of unknowns here. As in everything that we look at, everything we talk about, it's full of unknowns. You have to take the best information, your intelligence, and then compare it to life experience and compare it to what you feel is probable based on your life experiences, and that's what we do. Occasionally we're wrong, but more often than not, the track record has been very good. The process in industry is known as air stripping, to strip, air stripping. That's the process of removing oil and petroleum products out of water. You blow air through it. You blow air and you evaporate the petroleum product. That's how you remove it. You don't necessarily run it through a filter and remove it. You blow air through it and evaporate it. In industry, you can capture that, but here in the Gulf, the evaporation puts the petroleum and the chemistry in the air. Now, if you can imagine millions and millions of gallons of toxic floating around, transferring to the air, that's what's happening. And a certain proportion, certain amount of that is getting into the breathing air down there, and it's transferred. And after that, the winds directed, and you're at the mercy of prevailing winds and weather. So that's what's happening, and that's what's going to continue happening down there. In addition, I still am of the opinion that wherever it's coming from, whichever well, I still believe that oil and methane and other gases are being pumped into water aquifers. That's a hard trick to do, but I still believe that's happening on shore. I still believe that it's going to cause problems for the population down there between the air and the water supplies. You can count on that hitting the news here in the future. Another thing I wanted to mention, we'll deviate a little bit. This is not the only thing going on in the world right now. The earthquakes are picking up again in East Tennessee along a diagonal line over the reactors, the power plants, 5 power plants in East Tennessee on a diagonal line. The earthquakes, one in Maryville, Tennessee, outside of Maryville, they're starting up again. I don't know of any fault line over there. They're also picking up on the east side of Oklahoma City. They have done that in the past repeatedly. I am of the opinion it could be two things. It could be directed at putting energy in the land around those power plants, and also in Oklahoma they have a power plant over there. But if it's not that, it is creating a pressure zone along a line inland from the Gulf as part of the effort to keep the hurricanes out of the Gulf. We have more weather coming that direction, and they have successfully, for the past few years, been able to negate the storms before they come in. But when they negate them, you take care of the problem in the Gulf, but you also reduce waterfall over the drought-stricken areas of the United States. So it's a price to pay for that. I wanted to mention also the oil tanker, the Jap oil tanker, that was hit the other day with a, well, it's debatable what hit it, but it was a scalar hit. I know it was. Other people know it. It was a scalar hit. They hit the ship with scalar weapons because the side of the ship was pressed in. It wasn't a jagged hole in the ship. The side of the ship was pressed in a concaved manner. One of the crewmen saw a flash of light, which is a signature of scalar, before the blast. All of the fingerprints that accompanied the hit were scalar in nature. Had 250,000 gallons of petroleum on board, and they hit it in a way. It was a shot across the bow. It turned out to be that. I suspect they tried to take the ship down. Now, the strange thing was, under the ship, there was, I believe, a 3.4 earthquake reported on Iranian seismograph machines. So the earthquake, the bow pressed in, no jagged holes like a torpedo, nothing like that, and then a flash of light when it happened. No question, someone hit that with scalar weapons. Now, the country Iran was all over it in the news. Now, that means that here's your intelligence. Here's how you piece things together. If Iran did that, then that means they have scalar weapons. That means that there's going to be annihilation and devastation if Israel attacks. They can fire back. Israel has scalar. That means no city in the world is safe from destruction. If the Russians did that, then that's another story. Or if some other country did it. There are about 10 nations that have scalar weapons. But that was a significant happening that day. The news agencies never picked up on it, but that is something that we all should be concerned about, because if Iran has scalar weapons, they're more lethal than any atomic weapon that's ever been made. What do you think of that, Joe?
I think it's chilling, and that's putting it lightly, believe me. There's really no words to describe it. Griff, for the new listeners there tonight that haven't heard or understand what scalar weapons are, could you give a layman's version of what a scalar weapon is?
No.
I figured you could.
Yes, Joe.
No, I mean, I know even the layman version is kind of hard to comprehend, but just to give some sort of background and idea.
I could probably explain the existence of God easier than I could explain scalar. Scalar is, I think the word means straight line. It's a relatively new word. Tesla never used the word scalar. Tesla, the Yugoslavian inventor, discovered the phenomenon many years ago. He was the number one genius of electrical engineering. He talked about it. He applied it. It can be applied in different ways. It's an energy. It is not radio frequency. It is not a radio wave, but it's an energy that's made at the target. You can take two RF sources, and where those beams run together, you can create an explosion if you want to. You can create pressure zones. You can do things with it, but it's energy in a zero vacuum. If you Google search scalar Tom Bearden, or Tom Bearden, Bearden, scalar, you'll find page after page of explanation about that and a lot of interesting stories.
Right. Now that Tom Bearden, he was a colonel, correct?
Yes, he's a retired colonel. He's still alive, about 85 years old, lives in Alabama. A great human being. I'm just so proud of the things he's accomplished in his lifetime. Right.
Now, I did a little research, and there's quite a resource. As a matter of fact, Colonel Bearden is probably one of the foremost resources on scalar. It's spelled SCALAR, just so people understand. And the way that I understand it in a nutshell is that we are surrounded by energy. Energy flows through us, and basically scalar is what's called longitudinal EM waves, or longitudinal electromagnetic waves. These waves, what they do is they tap in to energy. As best as I could tell, the energy comes from time itself. Now that's what's absolutely sick. But the reading, folks, if you want to understand it, you got to read it. There's no way that I could adequately describe or define what scalar technology is. Much like Griff is having a hard time here. It's too overwhelming. The one thing I want to make clear, because I saw some stuff in the chat room, is that this is not HAARP. HAARP is a ionospheric heater. that's what it does. It heats up the upper ionosphere, among many other